Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the bell at the top so you can be notified when we drop new content. We recorded this last week and then it got deleted, so we finally got time to redo it again. UFC 292 recap. Aljo got TKO'd by Sugar Sean O'Malley. Round 2. It was nice too, man. It looked like Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo in a way. And
the only question I have with this is, I know Aljo lost. I know Sean O'Malley won. I'm not making no excuses, but I wish Aljo would have had a better game plan, because there's still some questions about Sean O'Malley's takedown defense. And a lot of people can say that don't matter, but say like against Henry Cejudo or against like a Marab, I don't think Sean could beat any one of those guys because he hasn't really shown that elite type of grappling defense.
You know why it don't matter? Because they got to go and make themselves the #1 contender so they can fight for his belt. It don't really matter what he can or can't do, because at the end of the day, he got the gold, so we're going to find out regardless.
Yeah.
That ain't on him. If he made it this far without having to show it, that actually makes him look even better, if I'm being completely honest. Because that means he got this far without having to go into his bag, really. He really just been putting hands on people and getting them out of there. Who cares? Truth be told, the thing is, Aljo did clearly make a mistake. Like, it was 99% his fault. But at this level,
because you got to look at the first round, which ain't no point of beating a dead horse, man. It is what it is. But he clearly won the first round easily.
Not much really happened in the first round.
You got to have some kind of game plan against Sean. You can't go out there and just try to force a takedown, but then you can't stand up with him too long anyway. You got to kind of stand up with him a little bit and then steal the round like he did.
Got a little bit too excited, man, because the reality is it's a 5-round fight. Sean has never had a 5-round fight. You were supposed to break him down slowly before you really started going for the takedowns, and then really steal those last rounds. Like, if the other rounds had been a little close, like round 1, like let's say round 2 was like that, and then let's say round 3 he started getting tired and all of a sudden he can't defend those takedowns as well, then you start doing the backpack thing. But the reality is, well, this fight was one of those fights where I kind of wanted both guys to win. I would be sad regardless of who lost, because both guys got a good story. Aljo, people didn't really give him a chance when he got beat by, what's your boy name? Marlon Moraes. And then he lost a split decision to Brian Caraway or something like that.
Yeah.
And people kind of wrote him off, and then he ended up fighting for the title. Then he had a terrible title fight. And then he's been able to come back, win the title, and then defend it a few times against people that the UFC clearly wanted him to lose against. He made it this far, and he still fought Sean, even having done several training camps back to back to back and not even really being healthy, you know. So he did a lot of work, man. He got the most wins in bantamweight history. He's still a bantamweight GOAT.
Yeah.
And truth be told, if he can go back and shake back and win the title in a year or so, he may actually put himself in the conversation to be ranked, you know.
It's weird. It's unfortunate for him, because if he would have beat Sean, he'd probably be the GOAT in the bantamweight division. And he was that close. I hate to say this, but I just don't know why the UFC forced certain champions to take certain fights. But then other champions we had Chris Weidman, we had other champions, and they were cherry picking who they wanted to fight. You know what I mean? But they forced Aljo to take the fight, which I heard he was paid real good. He made millions off the fight, so he ain't complaining. But I just don't think that it's fair.
He would have made millions too, regardless, because it was a big fight and he would have had a better chance. But the reality is,
he made a mistake. He was going to retire.
Yeah,
he said he was going to beat Volk, and then he said he was going to retire after he beat Volk.
You can't do that. You can't start talking. Whenever people start talking about retirement, I don't care if you're on a win streak. When you start saying things like, well, I'm just going to fight this one last fight, and then I'm going to take this one big mega fight, and I'm going to get out the game. You can't do it. You keep your mouth closed like Khabib.
Like Amanda Nunes did. Keep your mouth closed and just retire. Put the gloves down.
Yeah, just let it happen naturally, organically. You don't go out talking about how retirement is on your mind. Meanwhile, you fighting Sean O'Malley, who might have done started a dynasty at this point.
And also, because he said that if the fight would have went 5 rounds, I think Sean would have won. The fact that you said you want to retire, why would they have you as the champ still when you said you're going to retire in a fight or two?
Dan Henderson did that against Michael Bisping. We've seen that so many times where when you start using the R word, you finna get out. But at the same time, it's a good story for Sean O'Malley coming off the Contender. People thought he was just a young dude, a clown, you know, with the cotton candy hair. And I know he has a big fan base now, but it's been a love-hate thing with Sean O'Malley for a lot of people. People either really like him or they really hate him. And the thing is, he's delivered every time. It's been very few times, and you can't really use the Chito fight because clearly his ankle or something got broke. And I mean,
I think the thing is, Pico the Young got so many fans. You know how them fans are.
Pico
the Young got a bunch of fans. We know how his fans are. And I think a lot of people just wanted him to win that fight, which the fight was so close.
The reality is they wanted Piotr to win so he could come back and beat Aljo. It wasn't the fact that they liked Piotr. It was the fact that they just don't like Aljo.
Okay.
But the thing is, Sean definitely won that fight. And obviously, even now this fight with Aljo, it makes sense as to why Piotr was going for those takedowns. Now that you look at it, and it's funny because a year later, it's like, dang, Sean really was about to knock Piotr out. Realistically, now that we've seen the Aljo fight, he really was about to knock Piotr out several times. And for whatever reason, Piotr was able to get the takedowns, but Aljo just didn't put himself in a good position to be able to do that. And let's be real, Piotr was in survival mode that whole time. But needless to say, Sean, he did skip a lot of people, but they can't get mad because other people in the divisions, they don't sell themselves. They don't make it exciting to get ready for their fights. And then you get mad when you got somebody who has a big fan base and then they skip the line. Yeah, it's kind of unfair to skip the line, but it's a money machine too.
And also you got to understand he got the results. If you would have got a title shot and went there and got backpack and finish in the first round, it'd be okay, that wasn't really fair. But you only can look at how it ended to say, hey, that was a good decision by the UFC.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's
just what it is. And it's a situation where Aljo can shake back. Now the division is, what you about to say?
What I was gonna say is Aljo's reign might be over because it's tough. You got the Umars. The only way I see
he can't make it to a fight. We can't even mention him.
Huh?
He can't even make it to a fight.
But I'm saying you got these young guys coming up, man, and it's time for him to pass that torch to Merab. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's
time, man. It was easier when he had the belt. Ironically, they forced him to fight Sean. But other than that, though, a lot of times the champions have.
I bet they're not gonna force Sean to fight Merab, though.
And then
I guarantee they're not gonna force Merab. Gonna have to fight somebody. They'll make Merab fight Aljo before they make him fight Sean O'Malley. That's the messed up.
It's unfair because I think Chito is the easiest fight for Sean O'Malley right now.
But Chito don't deserve it right now. And it's that one fight, that Corey Sandhagen fight, where he didn't do nothing. When I say he did not show up, I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Sean gonna dance around him for 5 rounds.
Corey they really could have stopped that fight in the first round because at one point he had Chito on the ground in like full mount, side mount, just dropping ground and pound, and Chito wasn't doing nothing. And I was like, he really finna get TKO right now. And now you bounce back with a win over Pedro Munoz, who at this point is become the Neil Magny of the bantamweight division.
And we let that Corey fight pass because Corey is very cerebral and he's a pain to get prepared for. And he's probably like one of the top 5 more difficult fighters to fight and prepare for in the UFC because he's so well-rounded and he got so many different skill sets, especially on the feet. So I think people give him a pass on the Corey ones. When Corey shows up, he can be anybody. But the thing is, it's weird because a lot of guys are injured now. Corey's injured now. Merab's injured. So I think Chito was the only guy he can fight right now who actually kind of deserve it.
But now Sean kind of pulling back and saying that if Chito was acting like he deserved the fight, then he might not give it to him.
Ironically,
come on, man.
The irony behind that.
This is the fight that people have been waiting on. And the first time we recorded this, when it didn't save, I mentioned that it's so funny how after that fight, people were talking about a rematch. And I was like, man, what are the odds that these two guys fight each other 2, 3, 4 years later? And it just so happened that it worked its way into they might meet again and fight for the title, which a lot of people predicted that they would fight for the title one day, which it's just funny how that worked out.
Which I know this video ain't about Chito, but I've been saying that Chito was overrated. And I've been saying if you're going to look at his track record, he makes it to a certain level and he can never get over the hump. Even when he was on a win streak and then he lost to Jose Aldo. And it was kind of like,
but then sometimes you get on another win streak and then you can push a little bit and pass the threshold a little bit further each time. So he has been doing that. But I'm going to tell you one thing why he not going to beat Sean O'Malley. Because Sean shined bright under the spotlight for some reason. It's like he delivered. He over-delivered. His chin is better than what people give him credit for. His overall skill set is better than what people give him credit for. And for some reason, when the lights are bright, Sean can deliver spectacularly. Yeah. And even on a fight night, Chito froze up against Corey Sandhagen. Yeah. And if you froze up against Corey Sandhagen, you finna get frozen by Sean O'Malley.
And even against Cruz, he really wasn't looking too good.
And he just happened to land.
He just had the power, man. And honestly, I hate to say it might help him against Sean. The power might help him against Sean. Just think about this, man. I could see him losing, but he got the great equalizer. But then again, Sean got it too, so it's like Sean has to be very careful.
You know what this fight gonna look like if it happens?
Piotr Jan versus Sean?
Nah, because he don't have the grappling. It's gonna look like Izzy versus Paulo Costa.
I don't know, man.
It's gonna look like Izzy versus Paulo Costa. I guarantee you.